Welcome back to the latest edition of Conference Chatter TV. My name is Eric Sorrentino. I'm the KUSports.com Big 12 blogger, and I'm here to reflect on the Big 12 bowl games, some exciting ones that took place last week. Let's reflect a little bit on my picks. I went 5-2 in the Big 12 bowl games. That takes my season mark to 81-23, picking at a 77.9% clip. The only game left to pick here in the Big 12, of course, is Texas against Alabama in the BCS championship game. I will have that preview video coming out next week, but I wanted to reflect a little bit on what went down in the Big 12 here. Some impressive games. I went 5-2. Let's go over some of the ones that I missed. First and foremost, the Holiday Bowl, Nebraska 33, Arizona nothing. That was an amazing game by Nebraska. Their defense played exceptionally, as they have all year, holding Arizona to 109 total yards, only 46 yards passing for the Wildcats. And we've seen Nebraska's defense play at an elite level like they did against Arizona. So that wasn't an incredible surprise. But what we really haven't seen is when the offense puts it together and makes it a complete game for the Huskers. This was the most complete game of the season for Nebraska without a question. And this is really the kind of team that Nebraska can be, and it's downright scary. When the offense plays like this, they are a top 10, maybe even top 5 team in the country, in my opinion. Zach Lee played very well, 13 of 23, 173 yards and a touchdown. He had a separate 65 yards rushing on the ground and another score. He was running with a purpose, and he was playing through pain as well. We learned after the game that Lee was to have surgery to fix an extensive tear on his flexor tendon in his right elbow. He said he suffered that injury in the second game of the season against Arkansas State, and he didn't want to make the injury public. Throughout the season we saw Zach Lee make no excuses for his inconsistent play, but you really have to admire his toughness in the Holiday Bowl, really sticking this one out and playing great, leading Nebraska to this dominating victory. They looked unbelievable. Lee's surgery, it's going to take 10 to 12 weeks of rehab, and he could be ready to start throwing in the spring. That's kind of the plan, and he did a great job to make a push to be Nebraska's starting quarterback next season. Lee will be a senior next season. Cody Green will be a sophomore next season. Green was supposed to kind of be the future of Nebraska at the quarterback position, but maybe it takes another year for Green, because Lee really, not only did he show toughness playing through that injury all season, but he played exceptionally well in the Holiday Bowl and made a decent push to be Nebraska's starting quarterback next year. So I missed that one, and then the other one I missed was let's see here, Navy 35, Missouri 13. The Tigers just looked uninspired in the Texas Bowl. That triple option that Navy ran just burned Missouri for 385 yards on the ground. And Missouri probably not too much up for the Texas Bowl. Probably not too excited to be there. Probably deserved to be in a better bowl. There's no question about that. But, they didn't show up in Houston and got beat pretty soundly by Navy. So I missed that one. Let's go over the ones that I had correct here, starting with the Independence Bowl. It was Georgia 44, Texas A&M 20. The Aggies, they were a little bit too young to beat this Georgia team. It was high scoring like I thought, but Georgia, just too much balance on offense. You had 2 TD passes from quarterback Joe Cox, 3 rushing touchdowns, separate rushing touchdowns by the Bulldogs, and they really pulled away from that one late. So A&M is a team on the rise. I can see them having a pretty good year next year, but a little bit too early to beat this Georgia team. Next was the Sun Bowl, Oklahoma 31, Stanford 27. A pretty exciting game. And before this game and my predictions, I had Ryan Broyles as my X factor, and he definitely produced with 13 catches, 156 yards receiving, and 3 touchdowns, which was a Sun Bowl record. And how about Landry Jones? 418 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, making a huge case to remain OU's quarterback in 2010. Landry Jones, only a freshman this year, so he's got a ton of years left, and he struggled. He struggled at times this season, and he was inconsistent, but that's to be expected for a freshman quarterback. I think he showed enough flashes, though, throughout the season, and particularly in the Sun Bowl, to be Oklahoma's starting quarterback in 2010. Next game was the Insight Bowl, Iowa State 14, Minnesota 13. Not the most exciting game. A minimal amount of offensive fireworks in this one. But Iowa State, credit the Cyclones. Minnesota came into this game as the favorite. I thought Iowa State would take this game, and they did. It was the first winning season for Iowa State since 2005. A ton of credit goes out to Coach Paul Rhodes in his first year, taking the Cyclones to a bowl victory. Before the season, if you would have told me that Iowa State would be playing in the Insight Bowl and much less win a bowl game, I would not have believed it. A great year for Iowa State. Minnesota has now lost 4 straight bowl games, and they have not played particularly well these last few years in the Insight Bowl. So, very nice win for Iowa State. Next was the Cotton Bowl, Mississippi 21, Oklahoma State 7. I got this one correct. I thought Mississippi would win this game, but I didn't know it would be this ugly. This was the ugliest Cotton Bowl I've seen in years. Maybe the ugliest Cotton Bowl of all time. 12 turnovers combined in this game. 7 turnovers by Oklahoma State. You're not going to win football games turning the ball over 7 times. And Dexter McCluster for Ole Miss, too much on the ground. 182 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns. That really sealed it for Ole Miss. And finally, it was the Alamo Bowl. Texas Tech 41, Michigan State 31. I had Tech winning this game. I thought they'd win by a little bit more than that, but this was an incredibly exciting game. Probably the most exciting Big 12 bowl game yet that I've seen this postseason. It was a tough situation, a tough thing to watch at the beginning, with Tech fans booing wide receiver Adam James, clearly wanting Coach Mike Leach back on the sidelines. That was a little bit tough to watch. Of course, Leach fired earlier this week by Texas Tech, and defensive coordinator Ruffin McNeil taking over on the sidelines as the interim head coach for the Red Raiders. Tech played really well. Taylor Potts threw for an Alamo Bowl record 372 yards, but he had to leave in the fourth quarter after suffering an injury to his non-throwing hand. And then you saw Steven Sticks Sheffield, as he's called, came in and saved the day for Tech, engineering 2 scoring drives, and the last one put it away and sealed the victory for the Red Raiders. That first scoring drive that Sheffield led, though, was really the impressive one to me. It resulted in a 12-yard touchdown pass to Detron Lewis, and it was one of the prettiest touchdown grabs I've seen this bowl season. Lewis, with a remarkable grab, he caught the pass near the sideline, and the catch, it was a pretty basic catch, but it was what he did after the catch that was really impressive. His momentum was carrying him out of bounds, but he somehow twisted back toward the pylon and extended the football and hit the pylon and scored that touchdown for Texas Tech. A very, very impressive touchdown for the Red Raiders. And then, of course, on the next possession, Baron Batch sealing it with a 13-yard TD run to put the game out of reach. And Batch had a nice day, 100 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So I don't know what's going to happen next for Texas Tech. Ruffin McNeil made no secret that he'd love to be the next coach in Lubbock. And so we'll have to see what happens on that. He made a nice case in his interim, and being an interim head coach. Texas Tech played really well. It almost seemed like Leach was on the sidelines. Tech, going for it various times on 4th down. You can see Ruffin McNeil really adopt a similar game plan that Leach would have probably laid out at Tech, and it was a really, really exciting game there in San Antonio. Congratulations to Tech pulling it out in the end. So that will do it for this edition of Conference Chatter TV. I will be back next week to preview Texas against Alabama for the BCS Championship game. Thanks for checking out the latest edition, guys. My name is Eric Sorrentino, and I am signing off. I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.